Discover the incredible moment when a janitor's daughter, 17, saves a millionaire's son from death. The sun blazed high above the football field, shimmering off the fresh paint of the bleachers packed with eager spectators. This was no ordinary Saturday, it was the annual charity football game, where locals gathered to cheer on their teams and support one another. For Sophia, a 17-year-old girl who worked tirelessly at the diner and kept her family afloat as the daughter of a janitor, this day felt almost like a dream where she could escape the weight of her worries, if only for a moment. But today would change everything. Among the crowd, she stood with her heart in her throat, serving trays of steaming nachos and cokes while glancing with wide eyes towards the dazzling display of success unfolding on the field. The star quarterback, Oliver, with his perfectly styled hair and effortless charm, seemed to glide effortlessly towards victory. Just a few years apart, yet their worlds felt galaxies apart. She swallowed her pride, adjusting her second-hand shirt, as she reminded herself of her mother's words, "Stay true to yourself, Sophia." Then it happened. The moment that would redefine everything. Oliver lunged for a pass, the crowd roaring as he reached out. With a sickening thud, he collided with another player, collapsing to the grass like a rag doll. Time froze. The cheers turned to gasps. Sophia's heart raced, an instinct she had forgotten she possessed surged through her. "Call 911. She shouted, pushing through the throng. Her hands shook as she knelt beside him, the smell of grass and sweat pulsing in the air. She remembered the training, the drills her teacher had emphasized during health class. "Breathe, just breathe," she whispered to herself. With a few steady movements, she pressed down, feeling the warmth of his body beneath her palm, a stark reminder of life's fragility. As she worked, she could hear the frantic voices of onlookers, the whispers threading through the crowd, "He's rich, she's just a janitor's daughter." The disparity between them felt brutal yet irrelevant. All that mattered was the breath beneath her hands. After what felt like a lifetime, Oliver gasped, his eyes fluttering open, revealing gratitude mixed with confusion. The crowd erupted in applause, Sophia's heart swelling with a mix of pride and uncertainty. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the aftershocks of the incident reverberated through town, a spotlight was cast upon Sophia. Oliver's father, a powerful businessman, publicly lauded her heroism, branding the media-glossed headlines with dramatic flair. She recoiled from the attention, her father's apprehensive eyes deepening with worry. The very essence of who they were felt both supported and scrutinized, dragging their family's modest pride into the spotlight. Oliver approached her, a soft light of gratefulness in his eyes. Conversations began to twist in the community, revealing the raw tension of privilege overshadowing merit. Maybe they could become friends, Sophia thought hesitantly, her heart fluttering with excitement yet entangled in doubt. Was this real, or was she just another chapter in his fairy tale? Days passed, and whispers lingered in the air like smoke. Sophia looked toward an uncertain future, standing now on the precipice of friendship and disparity. The community watched, breaths held. Would her bravery break down the walls that separated their worlds, or would they forever remain trapped in their unmarked spaces? The following week felt different. News had spread like wildfire, and Sophia's life turned upside down. The diner buzzed with admiration and gossip, her regular customers turning into unofficial fans. "You're a hero, Sophia," they exclaimed, their voices warm and proud. Each compliment sent a blush scorching through her cheeks, but inside, a storm brewed. She was no hero, just a girl who happened to act when the moment called for it.at school. Everything seemed magnified. Eyes followed her in the halls, whispers accompanied her every step. Some classmates nodded encouragingly, while others shot her looks that screamed resentment. It felt like being on a stage with the spotlight shining brightly, but she wasn't certain of her lines. Then there was Oliver. He began showing up at the diner, the same dazzling smile that had captivated the field now softened by vulnerability. It left Sophia disarmed. He would slide into a booth, waiting patiently for her to take his order. They shared shy smiles and awkward conversation. What did they have in common? Their worlds felt like two planets on a collision course, their orbits determined by privilege and wage, yet gravity was somehow drawing them together. One afternoon, Oliver leaned over the table, his expression earnest. "Sophia, it's been a wild ride since the game. Everyone wants to know what you're going to do next." He hesitated, biting his lip. "I want to help you. You deserve more than this place." His words sent a shiver through her. Could he even grasp the weight of that statement? It was easy for him, a boy raised in wealth, to throw around phrases like help and more. But her reality was built upon resilience, hard work, and the daily grind. "So, what do you think?" he added, an eagerness threading his tone. "Maybe you could come to the next game as my guest?" "Just think about it." Sophia's heart raced. A guest? In his world? The very thought sent her spinning. Behind the thought sparkled a world of glitz and glamour, but amid that shimmer lay the anxiety of straying too far from who she was. "I don't know, Oliver. I don't belong there." Oliver flinched, and a shadow crossed his face. "You do. Not for what you did that day, but for who you are. You have a gift, Sophia. I want to share that with you." She looked into his eyes. In those moments of silence, she saw authenticity, a yearning for connection stripped of social conventions. But doubt knotted in her stomach. Was he really being genuine, or was she an exotic pet in his world of privilege? That evening, Sophia sat on her front porch, staring down the street as twilight blurred the horizon. A million thoughts raced through her mind, the echoes of her mother's advice whispering back to her, "Stay true, stay grounded." Uncertainty twisted like a vine around her heart. Could she really step outside her comfort zone and into a life that seemed so far removed? Then her phone buzzed with a text from Oliver. "I know it's a big ask. Just remember, I'm grateful to you. Let's change our stories together." As the street lights flickered to life, Sophia felt the weight of his words. She wasn't just an onlooker anymore, she had the power to write her own narrative. But as she wrestled with her choices, a new question loomed: what doors might open if she decided to step through? And what shadows might follow her if she stumbled into the wrong path? With a sigh, she texted back, her fingers trembling over the screen. "Let's talk." But would that decision bring her closer to her dreams or draw her deeper into an unfamiliar world? Sophia felt a slow fluttering in her stomach as she read her response. She half wished she hadn't texted him, but the other half of her buzzed with excitement. Deep down, the thought of stepping into another world, one that held promises of new beginnings, stirred something within her. The next day at school, the air felt different. Everyone seemed to expect a show, a herald of change. She could hear snippets of conversations, each word feeding the drama. "Did you hear she's talking to Oliver? What does he see in her?" It was both thrilling and excruciating, like being caught in a whirlwind. She walked through the hall, her shoulders slightly hunched, trying to blend into the noise. Each glance felt like a spotlight, the pressure mounted as she navigated the sea of judgment and admiration. During lunch, the cafeteria felt more like a battleground. Her classmates whispered around her, their curious eyes burning holes into her confidence. Trying to ignore them, she picked at her food, her mind drifting to Oliver. Was he really waiting for her, eager for their conversation? After the last period, her phone buzzed again. It was Oliver. "Hey, I'd love to meet up later if you're free." "Just us?" Her heart raced. "Sure, when and where?" The response came almost instantly. "How about the diner at 4? Sophia arrived at the diner early, nerves churning as she wiped down tables and served her regulars. The familiar clink of silverware and the aroma of coffee felt comforting, yet she was hyper-aware of the evening ahead. Would Oliver really understand her? Could she trust him outside of the constraints they'd known? Exactly at 4, the bell above the door chimed, and there he was, standing tall with that warm smile. He looked around, and when his eyes landed on her, something shifted. He looked genuinely happy to see her. After the initial pleasantries, they sat down in a booth, the dim light casting a soft glow over them. "Thanks for coming, Sophia," he began, the earnestness in his voice palpable. "I wanted to really talk. About everything." Her heart pounded, and the silence that followed felt heavy. "What do you want to talk about?" she finally asked, her voice shaky. "I want to know you," he said, his gaze steady. "Not just the hero in the headlines, but you. What makes you tick?" Sophia chuckled softly, caught off guard. "I barely know what makes me tick. It's just day in, day out here at the diner." "Exactly. That's your story. You've worked hard, and most people don't even realize it." Oliver leaned in, as if safeguarding a treasure. "But you have more in you. Your talent shines beyond this place." Her stomach twisted again, this time with a mix of pride and fear. "But what if I dream too big? What if I falter?" "Everyone stumbles," he reassured her, his voice warm. "But it's not about falling, it's how you get back up. When I saw you save my life, it wasn't just an act of bravery. You inspired me, too." Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the diner faded away. Did he really see her, or was he projecting his fantasies onto her? As she considered this, the weight of doubt crept back in. "I'm not a magic story waiting to happen," she countered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe not yet," Oliver replied, a spark igniting in his eyes. "But together, we could write something incredible." Sophia's heart raced as uncertainty mingled with the thrill of possibility. Everything felt precarious, vibrant, and on the edge of change. She could see it, the path before her, gleaming with potential but intimidating in its vastness. "What happens if we fail?" she asked, biting her lip. "Then we try again. Together." His certainty wrapped around her like a lifeline, but still, doubt tightened its hold. As they continued to talk, a blend of excitement and apprehension washed over her. Was she ready for what lay ahead? The clock ticked on, and with each passing moment, a choice loomed ever larger. Could she really take that leap? Or would her fears hold her back, trapping her in the very diner she sought to escape? The weight of the decision loomed like a shadow over their conversation as they exchanged hopeful glances, not realizing the changes about to unfold. Sophia couldn't shake the swirl of emotions as Oliver's words settled in her mind. The diner buzzed around them, but for her, everything faded into a soft blur. It was just the two of them, caught in a moment that felt suspended in time. She stared into his earnest eyes, feeling a pulse of connection, yet the shadows of self-doubt loomed large. "I need to be honest with you, Oliver," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not what you think I am." He tilted his head, curiosity dancing in his features. "What do you mean?" I'm not the brave girl everyone talks about." She looked down, swirling her soda with a straw. "I still feel like I'm trapped here. I work, I study, and I try to get by, but what if I can't be more than that?" "Why do you think you can't?" He leaned back slightly, allowing her the space to breathe, but his eyes never left hers. "What if this is your moment to change that?" She took a deep breath, summoning enough courage to confront her own fears. "Because what if I reach for something higher and fail? The thought terrifies me." Oliver's expression softened, grounding her with his unwavering presence. "What if you soar?" he challenged, a hint of a smile on his lips. "You can never truly know until you try." Moments stretched between them, filled with possibilities and fears, dreams and uncertainties. Outside, the daylight waned, casting golden hues through the diner's windows, but inside, it felt like night. Just then, the shrill sound of laughter erupted from a group of students entering the diner, their lively chatter breaking the fragile bubble they created. Sophia's heart sank as she recognized their faces. Whispers erupted again, and she could hear segments of their conversation float through the air. "Look at the nerd with the waitress," one girl teased. "What is she doing with Oliver? She doesn't belong there." The laughter felt like icy darts, and guilt washed over her. "See?" she said, her voice shaky, pulling her hands close. "This is what I mean. I don't know if I'm ready for this. Can I really step into some new chapter? What if I can't?" Oliver reached across the table, capturing her hand in his. It felt warm, anchoring, a lifeline pulling her back from that edge. "People will always talk. They don't know your story. They don't see what I see, the real you." His words filled her with a rush of something close to hope, but doubt still clung to her like a shadow. "And what if I can't be that person, Oliver? What if I can't live up to what you want me to be?" "I'm not asking you to be anyone but yourself," he replied, conviction thick in his tone. "You want to chase dreams? Then start chasing, Sophia. Take it one step at a time. You won't be alone." Nerves danced in her stomach again, twisting and turning. What if stepping into this new world meant she would lose herself? What if Oliver's support wasn't enough? Yet, at that moment, the hope he ignited began to overpower her doubts. Just slightly, she looked up at him then, vulnerability woven into her gaze. "So what now?" "Now," he said, letting go of her hand reluctantly, "we take our first step. Together." Just as they shared that tentative grin, the door swung open again. 2 more students joined, and as they spotted Oliver, their expressions shifted from surprise to concern. "Oliver, you've got to come. There's something you need to see." The moment slipped from Sophia's grasp, the realization dawning on her that whatever was coming felt big. The glimmer of hope she had just begun to hold flickered like a candle in a gust of wind. "Wait," she called out, dread clawing at her heart. "What's going on?" People moved around her, and Oliver's attention turned away as the atmosphere thickened with uncertainty. Sophia felt a knot of disquiet forming in her chest. What could be waiting just beyond the doors? As Oliver gathered himself to leave, he paused, shooting her a glance filled with undiluted support. "Whatever happens, I'm here," he promised, before following his friends outside. Sophia's heart raced as she whispered quietly to herself. What if this moment changed everything? Was she still ready to take that leap? The door swung closed behind him, leaving her to grapple with her thoughts alone. A shadow loomed over the diner, and suddenly, she felt the walls closing in. Just as she contemplated getting up to follow, a loud crash echoed from outside, shattering the fragile silence. What could it mean? What was about to unfold? Sophia's heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing like a drumroll in the back of her mind. She sat frozen, eyes glued to the door Oliver had just exited through. Voices surged from outside, a mixture of concern and panic piercing through the intermingling sounds of the diner. The laughter that had filled the space moments before felt distant now, like a fading melody in the background. The crash had shattered the ordinary rhythms of her life, thrusting her into unfamiliar territory. She took one shaky breath and then another, the taste of fear sharp on her tongue. What could have happened? She squinted through the window, straining to make sense of the chaos outside. As patrons at the diner turned their heads toward the commotion, murmurs rippled through the crowd. A waitress rushed past her, coffee pot clattering as she dashed to join the others outside. Even the cook peeked through the kitchen door, curiosity drawn to the unfolding scene. Sophia knew she should move. She had to. Something instinctively pulled her toward the door. She stood up, her legs trembling like jelly as she made her way across the diner, heart in her throat. What if she walked out there, only to see Oliver hurt? The thought ignited a new wave of anxiety within her. She could almost feel the weight of her own doubts pushing her back, whispering that she shouldn't get involved, that this was not her world. But then she remembered his words. "You won't be alone." Pushing her way through the door, cold air rushed at her and pulled her into the frenzy outside. The scene was confusion incarnate. A crowd had gathered, spilling across the pavement, faces drawn with worry. And there, in stark contrast to the chaos, stood Oliver. He was crouched near a small group of students, a few of them pointing towards something on the ground. Then she saw a black bicycle, its frame twisted awkwardly, lying on the asphalt. Her breath caught. At the center of the crowd was a boy she recognized, Danny, the rich kid from school, the one who always seemed to drift in and out of trouble. He was sitting beside the bike, cradling his arm while blood dripped cautiously from his chin. "Dude, just hang in there. An ambulance is on the way." Oliver's voice cut through the murmurs, steady and firm. Sophia felt a surge of determination as she pushed closer. The front lines of the crowd parted slightly, allowing her to see Danny's face twisted in pain and anger. How was this happening? Was he okay? Oliver knelt beside him, compassionate and grounded, and in that second, something inside her clicked. Is he going to be okay? She found herself asking, her voice woven with worry as she moved closer, her eyes darting from Oliver to Danny. Oliver looked up, a flicker of relief passing through his gaze when he spotted her. "Sophia. I think he just needs stitches." "They're coming." But Danny, with a grimace, was shaking his head. "I'm fine. I don't need no help. Just get off me." He winced as he attempted to pull away, but the effort sent pain rippling through him, eliciting a sharp hiss. "Stay still, man. You need to stay calm," Oliver urged again, the tension in his voice palpable. Sophia caught that intense look in Oliver's eyes, powerful enough to let her know he wasn't just supporting Danny. He was taking charge, showing strength in a moment of crisis. Suddenly, Sophia felt a tug at her heart. The doubts that had held her back began to dissolve as she stepped forward. Helping, healing, she could do that. She could be a part of something significant. "I can help," she called out, feeling the swell of hope. Oliver's gaze flickered back to her, surprise mingling with pride. "You sure?" "Yeah." Her heart raced, the timbre of her own voice steadying her nerves. "Let me, I can help clean him up." As she knelt beside Oliver, the crowd squeezed in closer. All eyes on them, Sophia felt the weight of their gazes, but for the first time, she didn't falter. Embracing that fierce spark of courage, she reached for a cloth one of the bystanders handed her, and their eyes locked. This was her moment. What would happen next would define her. Would she truly be able to seize the opportunity to rise, and could she take this step without losing herself? Could she be the hero in someone else's story? Just then, the sirens pierced the air, merging with the rising tide of excitement and anxiety, an anthem heralding change. But could she hold on to this moment? Would she let it strengthen her or crack her under pressure? As she prepared to act, a realization flickered across her mind like a bolt of lightning. Step by step, she could create her own story. But the real question was, could she face what lay beyond this moment and savor every opportunity that awaited her? Sophia's heart raced as she knelt beside Danny, the cloth trembling in her grip. The sounds of the sirens drove her focus deeper. A powerful mix of adrenaline and fear surged through her veins. She could see his pain etched across his face, a stark reminder of the reality they were in. "Just breathe, Danny," she said, trying to keep her voice calm even as every instinct pushed her to rush. "I'm going to clean you up. It'll hurt for a second, but we'll make it better." He looked at her, confusion sparking in his eyes. The tough facade cracked for just a moment, revealing a scared boy beneath. "You really think you can help?" he croaked, the bravado slipping away. Sophia nodded, feeling Oliver's presence beside her. She caught him looking at her with this fierce pride, a gentle encouragement woven into his expression. It was a small flame in the chaos, but it lit a fire in her. "Yeah. We're here for you." Just then, the crowd shifted, excitement rippling as the ambulance pulled up, red lights flashing in the dim afternoon light. The paramedics sprang out, ready, and the tension around them eased slightly. "Right over here. We've got a guy down," Oliver called, motioning to the scene. Sophia shifted her gaze back to Danny, who was still grimacing. His arm was awkwardly positioned. "Okay, buddy. Just keep still. They'll be here in no time." She dampened the cloth, making a makeshift compress to stop the bleeding. But Danny's face suddenly twisted with pain, and he held back a groan. "Why'd it have to be me?" he muttered, his bravado crumbling completely. Sophia felt a pang of empathy. "I think it's just an accident," she said softly, wrapping the cloth around his chin. "You'll be okay." Accidents happen to everyone, even the rich kids. He glanced at her, surprise mixed with vulnerability. I usually don't get involved in, well, stuff like this. Neither do I, Sophia admitted, forcing a half-smile. But today feels different. I want to help. Her heart thudded as she realized how profound this moment was. She was standing up, doing something. Despite her fears, Oliver was still by her side, right where she needed him. The paramedics arrived, taking quick control of the situation. They placed a gentle hand on Danny's shoulder and began assessing the injuries. Can you tell me your name, son? One of them asked. Danny, he said, his voice steadier, though his eyes darted nervously around. He looked from the paramedics to Sophia, who didn't break her gaze. Thanks for, not freaking out with me. She smiled, feeling a connection sparked between them, one that captured a shared humanity in a fraught moment. This wasn't a simple accident, it was a reminder that everyone, rich or poor, could find themselves in the same boat. As the paramedics worked, Sophia felt buoyed by her choices. Helping Danny wasn't just about taking action. It was a declaration of who she wanted to be. Suddenly, the crowd erupted in gasps. Someone in the back shouted, "Look! The bike's owner!" A girl rushed forward, pale and terrified, her hands shaking. "Oh no! Danny!" she cried, shoving through the throng. Sophia's heart dropped. Was this girl another casualty of the chaos? Or was there something deeper, like a history between them? As the girl clamored to reach Danny, anxiety rippling through the crowd, Sophia felt a wave of urgency wash over her. This wasn't just about an injured boy anymore, it was becoming a tangle of emotions, relationships, and stories that intertwined in ways she hadn't anticipated, and in this whirlpool of feelings, a new question took root in her mind: was she ready to uncover the hidden histories of those around her? What impact did that hold for her journey ahead? As the girl reached Danny, pleading with him between sobs, Sophia sensed that this moment was only the beginning of a much larger story. What threads would unravel, and how would they tie together in the chaos of life? The girl was frazzled, her breath coming in sharp bursts as she knelt by Danny's side. Tears streamed down her cheeks like a river of worry. "Danny, please, stay with me. I can't lose you." Her voice cracked, revealing a bond that Sophia hadn't anticipated. Danny's eyes widened in confusion. "Lila? What, how?" His tough exterior melted, revealing a boy desperate for comfort. The air began to feel heavy with unspoken words and shared history. Sophia felt like an outsider in this sudden emotional whirlwind. She held the compress tighter. The paramedics continued their work, but the atmosphere shifted. Lila's eyes darted between Danny and the paramedics, a mix of fear and hope flooding her expression. "I thought you were just going to test the new bike. Why did you have to be out here?" "I wasn't trying to," Danny started, but the words faltered on his lips. It was as if every inclination to defend himself slipped away, replaced by Lila's sincere concern. "Look, we're gonna get you out of here, okay?" One of the paramedics interjected, gently pushing Lila back a step to give them room. "We need to check his arm." Lila shook her head, fresh tears spilling down. "No, no. I can't." She turned to Sophia, her eyes suddenly locking onto hers, a plea for understanding flashing through. "You have to help him. Please." Sophia took a deep breath, her own heart pounding. She had hovered at the edges of this moment, unsure about what more she could do. But now it felt like it was time to step up, to be a part of something bigger than herself. "I'm doing everything I can," she reassured Lila, her tone firm, but gentle. This was about more than just first aid, it was about anchoring these sinking hearts, offering a lifeboat amid the storm. The crowd had transformed into a sea of anxious faces, murmurs fluttering like restless birds. "Is he okay? What happened?" Some were capturing moments on their phones, but Sophia could only focus on the girl and the boy who seemed to exist in their own world. As Lila continued to plead with Danny, it became clear that their story was woven from threads of friendship and perhaps something deeper. Sophia's instinct screamed to protect them both from their pain. But could she? Danny gradually relaxed as Lila's presence offered a balm to his fears. "I'm fine, Lila." "Really?" he whispered, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Just then, the paramedics began to lift him onto a stretcher. "We're going to take him to the hospital," one of them said, trying to maintain professionalism in the storm of emotions. "We'll do everything we can." Lila took a step forward, her hand outstretched, but the paramedic gently guided her back. "You'll be able to follow in a moment," he promised. The links of connection between them felt fragile, and yet they burned with intensity. Danny was lifted away, Lila's hand slipped from his fingertips. The look in her eyes was filled with dread, the kind that felt like it could cut through steel. "Danny, please come back," she shouted. Her voice was laced with sincerity, a sound that echoed in Sophia's chest. There was something about this girl's devotion that struck a chord in Sophia. In their world, where money often dictated worth, here was pure emotion spilling forth, unraveling the stories behind their identities. Sophia watched as the ambulance door closed, sealing away Danny for another moment. She turned toward Lila, feeling the weight of a shared understanding. "He'll be okay," she whispered, even if a part of her was unsure, but instead of responding, Lila's eyes tightened with fear. She pulled away, blinking against the brightness of the flashing lights around her. What if she hesitated, the faintest tremor in her voice? What if something happens while he's away? "I can't lose him." The urgency in Lila's tone reverberated in Sophia's heart. What if this incident was just the beginning? What implications did it hold for everyone involved, especially for her, standing amid the storm and watching their stories unfold? As silence enveloped the crowd, a glaring truth emerged: this was not just about Danny anymore, it was about connections that spanned deeper than injuries. And as Sophia felt the weight of the world shift around her, she realized she had a choice to make. What paths would she step onto next? Would she dive deeper into this tangled web, uncovering painful truths hidden beneath the surface? Would she risk her heart in the process? Sophia's heart raced, caught between the weight of Lila's fears and the swelling uncertainty that consumed the scene. The ambulance's taillights blinked a final farewell, fading into the night. Lila shifted restlessly, her feet losing the battle for stillness. "You don't get it," she shouted suddenly, her voice breaking the tension. "What if he doesn't come back? What if I never get to tell him how much he means to me?" The rawness of her confession pierced the air, leaving Sophia momentarily breathless. Sophia stepped closer, compelled to reach out but unsure how to bridge the gap. "Lila, maybe he just needs time. You have to trust him and the doctors." "He's strong," Sophia replied, cautiously optimistic, not wanting to shatter the fragile hope woven into the moment. A shaky breath escaped Lila's lips, as a flicker of gratitude washed over her features. But it was quickly extinguished by fresh panic. "I've been stupid, always waiting for the right time. What if I'm too late?" When she spoke those words, Sophia felt the weight of regret hanging in the air. It was a sorrow that resonated, a fear of lost moments slipping through fingers like sand. The murmurs from the crowd faded into a buzzing backdrop as Sophia tried to shake off her own rising dread. She understood Lila's pain, she had lived it once too. The suffocating thought of not being brave enough to speak out when it mattered most. I saw you two together," Sophia said, hesitant but hopeful. "There's something real between you. You don't just walk away from that. You fight for it." The conviction in her voice surprised even herself as the words poured out. Lila glanced down at her trembling hands, her brow furrowed in conflict. But what if it's too late? What if he'd never feel the same way? "Then you don't give up, not now," Sophia pressed. "You tell him how you feel, come what may. That's what love means, doesn't it? It's about being brave in the face of fear." The crowd murmured again, but their voices blurred together as Sophia locked eyes with Lila. The moment was electric, filled with choice, reckoning, and the kind of fear that could ignite resilience. In that moment of silence, Lila's breath caught, her heart racing beneath her chest. "You really think so?" A glimmer of hope sparked in her wild eyes. "I do." And you'll always regret not saying what you feel, Sophia replied sincerely. If Danny comes back, you have to tell him. Just as the weight of the moment seemed to settle, the distant sound of the ambulance siren brought a rush of anxious dread. Lila's eyes met Sophia's, a mixture of gratitude and determination reflecting back. I can't just stand here, then. Exactly, Sophia agreed, feeling her pulse quicken. Wait for me. Before Lila could reply, Sophia whipped her phone from her pocket. She took a breath, her own pulse racing as she dialed. The line rang, and she could barely hear it over the pounding in her ears. She felt exposed, one foot hovering on the edge of the unknown. Lila watched with wide eyes, filled with curiosity and the slightest hint of suspicion. Is this the hospital? Sophia's voice was steady, despite the chaos swirling around them. She swallowed hard, the words dancing on the tip of her tongue. Can you tell me about Danny? How is he? As the voice on the other end began to respond, Lila leaned closer. The tension hung thick in the air, but the room felt charged with possibility. Would they hear good news, or was this just the beginning of a long fight? Sophia held her breath, hoping against all odds that today wouldn't end in despair. Whatever it took, she would help Lila find her voice. But as the conversation progressed, a painful realization washed over Sophia. This was only the beginning. Would she be strong enough to see Danny's ordeal through? Would Lila gather the courage to finally say what had been lodged in her throat? Sophia? Lila interrupted, her voice barely more than a whisper. What if things change after this? What if we lose him and lose everything? Sophia's heart sank with the weight of that fear, resonating in the unsteady rhythm of the night. The sirens faded in the distance, and all that remained was the question, what would they do when faced with the truth? The air hummed with uncharted potentials, a path ahead shrouded in uncertainty. Time stood still, stretched thin with anticipation. With each beat, hope flickered cautiously, ready to entwine with desperation. The line between love and fear blurred, and as she hung up the phone, a new determination crossed her mind. What if reaching out to those who mattered most transformed everything? Would she be brave enough to face the storm head-on? Sophia pulled the phone away from her ear, her mind racing. The voice on the line had been calming but had told her nothing that eased her worries. He is stable for now, the nurse had said. But stable felt like a promise hanging on a thin thread, ready to snap at any moment. Lila, she began, turning to face her friend, who stood frozen, eyes wide and glistening. He is okay for now? Lila echoed, her breath shaky. The hope in her eyes flickered like a candle in a storm. Exactly, Sophia nodded, trying to anchor the shattering anxiety in Lila's heart. But it's your turn to act. This is your chance act? Lila's voice was barely audible, disbelief clawing at her like a tempest. What can I do while he is lying there? Sophia stepped closer, searching for the right words. You can make sure he knows how you feel. You can show him he is not alone. Lila's hands found each other, fingers twisting tighter as doubt clouded her face. But what if I don't know how to say it right? Just be real. That's all he needs. A silence fell between them, thickening with everything left unsaid, every moment lost. Sophia could see the storm brewing in Lila's eyes. It was so much more than just fear, it was regret, panic, longing, all rolled into one. Suddenly, Lila straightened, a new strength flowing into her limbs. You're right. I can't stand here waiting anymore. I need to go to him. Yes. Let us get you there. The urgency fueled Sophia as she grabbed Lila's arm. But as they turned toward the hospital entrance, a familiar figure caught Sophia's eye. Jared? Sophia gasped. There he stood, his face pale but determined, trying to weave through the crowd. Jared's eyes darted around, looking for Lila. When their gazes met, it was as if the world around them faded. I heard the sirens, he stammered, breathless. I didn't know if Lila's feet shuffled to him, momentum overriding hesitation. Danny's in there, she whispered, her voice laced with urgency. Jared stepped closer, the warmth of his presence instantly soothing the turmoil inside Lila. I know you care about him. His eyes bore into hers, filled with compassion. I can't imagine what you're going through. Lila took a shaky breath, her heart pounding in her chest. I need to tell him how I really feel. About everything. Then don't waste another second, Jared urged. Let us get you moving. But before they could take another step, the sirens pierced the stillness again, closer this time. A doctor emerged from the entrance, his expression unreadable, though the tightness in his throat spoke volumes. Sophia gulped, and Lila squeezed Jared's arm. What does that mean? I'll go ask, Sophia said, feeling the weight of the moment settle over them like a heavy blanket. As she approached the doctor, each step felt like tumbling deeper into a whirlwind. The tension was palpable, almost breathing around her. Sophia could feel Lila's anxiety rippling through the air, the multitude of anxious thoughts pulsing like frantic drumbeats. Doctor, she began, every word laced with apprehension. How is he? The doctor paused, eyes scanning Sophia's face, and then he took a breath that felt charged with uncertainty. He is stable. But a flash of dread passed through Sophia. The weight of but could shift everything in an instant. Lila needs to hear this, Sophia thought. She needs to know what's at stake. As she turned back, the question lingered at the forefront of her mind: would Lila find the courage to speak her truth before time slipped too far away? As she met Lila's anxious gaze, everything felt fragile. Lila, whatever happens next, remember, Sophia hesitated. The magic of love always sparked in moments like this. But would they grasp it before it faded into the night? And then, out of the crowd behind them, a voice called, heart-pounding, Danny's back. The world narrowed, a breath held tight, the promise of a chance that could change everything. Would love finally break through the fear? The chaos melted into hushed anticipation as everyone turned, faces etched with hope. Danny's back. The words reverberated through the crowd, igniting a spark that flickered back to life in Lila's eyes. The air was thick with possibility, and Sophia could almost feel the collective heartbeat of everyone present, a rush fueled by the hope of a second chance. Pushing through the throng, Sophia and Lila hurried towards the entrance of the hospital. With each step, Lila's heartbeat pulsed louder in her ears, a rhythm of determination intertwined with fear. Time felt suspended as they crossed the threshold, and the sterile smell of antiseptic enveloped them, grounding the intensity of their emotions. I can't do this, Lila whispered, her voice wavering like a candle flickering in the wind. Yet, a flicker of resolve burned in her eyes as they approached the waiting area. I have to. I need to see him. Just breathe, Sophia encouraged, squeezing Lila's hand reassuringly. You've got this. The door swung open, revealing a stretch of vibrant colors and soft lights that illuminated the recovery area. And there he was, Danny. He lay pale but alive, hooked up to monitors, his face betraying a haze of confusion. When his eyes met Lila's, something shifted in the room, every worry seemed to fall away. Lila, he croaked, voice weak yet filled with longing. Her heart swelled at the sight of him, fragile yet resilient, an embodiment of their intertwined paths. With a deep breath, Lila stepped closer. I was so scared, Danny. I need you to know, her voice caught, emotions building like a dam ready to burst. Sophia hung back, witnessing the moment unfold. In that space, she felt her own heart expand. She had taken her own scared steps toward breaking out of her comfort zone. And now, Lila was about to do the same. Danny, when you fell, I realized how much you mean to me. You've always been a part of my life, and I've been too afraid to admit it. But I care about you more than I ever let on, and I want to tell you that now. I don't want to hold back anymore. Tears shimmered in her eyes, unwavering now, a reflection of love finally surfacing from the depth of uncertainty. His brow furrowed, the weight of her words settling gently. I didn't know, he started, his voice cracking as he processed her confession. I always thought, you would never look my way. Don't say that. Lila shook her head, stepping forward. I've always cared for you. I just wished I was brave enough to show it before this. A comforted silence hung in the air as Danny's expression softened, and for the first time, he broke into a smile, fragile but genuine. Lila, it's too late for that. Look where I am. I should have told you too. I was scared as well. The emotion crackled as they shared a gaze that transcended words, full of promise and regret, a bridge that lost moments could never fully erode. But as Lila opened her mouth to respond, the room filled with the softer sound of footsteps approaching. Oliver stepped into the room, catching sight of Sophia first. His face expressed relief, realizing they had come together. "Hey, everyone," he greeted, a reassuring smile forming. Sophia's heart fluttered, offering warmth and support without needing to say a word. She could breathe again. This moment was about more than just Lila and Danny, it was about connection, vulnerability, and how communities had the power to unify. As she stood back, watching Lila and Danny navigate their emotions, something profound pierced the air. We might stumble and experience pain, but we also have to rise and embrace our truths, Sophia thought, realizing how far she had come. She stepped forward, ready to bridge the worlds between her, Oliver, and the intersection of their paths. "Oliver," Sophia called gently, knowing the time had come for her leap of faith too. "Can we talk?" He turned toward her, surprise flickering across his face, and stepped towards the door, leaving the weight of Lila and Danny's moment to resonate in that room. As she moved outside with Oliver, the weight of emotion shifted once more. "Are you ready to step beyond what you've known?" he asked, the sincerity in his voice washing over her like a tide. "I think I am," Sophia replied quietly, her heart full of possibility. "I think I have to be. Whatever lies ahead, I want to embrace it." In that moment, they stood at the edge of a new beginning. The sun began to dip under the horizon, illuminating the world in golden hues. And as the stars twinkled into existence, each one a promise written like a path waiting to be discovered, Sophia recognized that this was their moment, an awakening, a calling. Together, they could redefine their stories, chasing dreams, and fostering connections where none existed before. But even as she edged toward that hope, she understood there was urgency in this journey. It was a reminder for every soul that had ever felt unseen or unheard: take a step, even when fear claws at your heart. Sophia looked up at the darkening sky, her heart swelling with joy, knowing she was ready to embrace every wild twist and turn that lay ahead. This was just the beginning, and before they walked out to face the world together, she lingered for a moment and turned back, a fire igniting in her spirit. If you feel inspired by this story, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss our next exclusive tales that will tug at your heartstrings. Hit that like button to help us grow and leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this transformative journey. And don't wait not even one more second, share this video with 5 friends who need to witness this amazing connection. Your support makes a difference, and it matters more than you know.